So I finally finished my most complex intarsia project ever, which is my whole jumper. And dare I say, I'm quite pleased with how it ended up. And I won't lie, it's been a bit of a mixed bag because while I'm so pleased with the result, maybe one of my favourite knits yet, although I do say that every time. It's also been some of the most miserable weeks knitting that I've had because that middle section there was no joke. I'm going to do a whole separate video about this project specifically, my ideas, how I found it, how the project went itself. Obviously, plot spoiler, was a little bit miserable at places, but I'm so happy with how it turned out. But today I'm going to talk specifically about ends because one of the most common questions I've got off the back of this jumper is how are you planning to weave the ends in? And also like, good luck weaving those ends in. So I have woven all the ends in. And it looks like this, which, you know, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do today in the video. I'm going to show you how I approach weaving in ends in complex intarsia. Now, if you're a knitter, you're probably going to already have your preferred method which to weave in ends. And if you are a knitter of intarsia, I'm sure other intarsia artists have their way of knitting in ends. So I'm not saying that this is the only way or the right way. I'm just saying this is the way that I do it and it works. Therefore, it's a right way to do it, but it might not be how other people choose to do it. And complicated by the fact for this project, because it was so many colours and a little bit like slapdash at places, I often didn't like accurately estimate how much of each yarn colour I needed. So a lot of it is like, there's probably more yarn ends than there needed to be. And probably there's sections where like stranded the colour work a little bit, where like, on reflection, I should have probably just done proper intarsia in some sections. Just like this whole section at the top, like I don't know, it just kept going from like white to purple, and then so I was like stranding it and then adding new colours, and there was just a ton of ends to weave in, and it just like is not as neat as it could be, but like, who cares? I don't care, therefore nobody important cares. But anyway, with that all said, that's what I've done today. Obviously, I've already weaved in the ends, so I took this video a couple of weeks ago when I was still in the process of it, and I was pretty exhausted by knitting, so it was kind of a one-take wonder, and I'm hoping that it will still be enough to be useful to you. But obviously, if you've got any clarifying questions, then let me know in the comments or speak to me over on Instagram, and let's get into it. So I've already started work on this half, and you can sort of see from there it is very much imperfect, but it does the job. Now there's lots of pieces of string flying in sort of all directions, which is because of this weaving in process slash partially it's the way that I knit it because it's all a little bit chaotic and disorganized, but we still have all of this to do. Let's start doing it then. So what you need for this process is you need a pair of scissors for one, and then you need a tapestry needle as well. So what the first step actually is to cut all the threads down to a sort of workable length, which is about sort of this long, I'd say. I don't know how long that is, maybe 10 centimeters or something like that. I've already done that, so which I probably should have saved this for, but I'll just sort of show you. So there, cut it down to there, and then it's sort of workable, otherwise you'll have these really, really long pieces. Once you got it to those lengths, so if I was weaving in on a normal jumper, like say for example, I was weaving in on something that was plain coloured, right, and I had a huge amount of the colour that I want to weave into, I usually go about 3 stitches down diagonally and then 3 stitches back up diagonally. In fact, you can sort of see where I've done that here. Now that's how I weave my ends in. I'm not saying that's the right way to weave ends in. People will obviously all do it differently. I'm just saying that's a way to weave in that works for me. Now, obviously, when you've got all of this, you can't do that because, I mean, it would all come through. I mean, some of these colours maybe you can, but most of these colours, the sections of the colour are too small to sort of weave into the back of, like it's just not possible to get that, to catch that many stitches. The way that I do it though is quite simple and quite minimalist. So I just try and get 2 to 3 stitches caught on a diagonal line. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we'll just pick one at random. Some of these have big colours, so I want to do one with not a lot of colour around it. We'll do this piece, right? Piece of the cream, the main colour. This piece, I mean, there's quite a bit of white nearby, but I'm just going to pick some white pieces, or if there weren't white pieces nearby, I just pick a similar colour. So I'm just going to go into this piece here, catch that one, find another white piece. This actually isn't white, it's just pale yellow, but I'll catch that. And then I'll catch this one, which isn't even really a stitch, it's just a sort of diagonal piece. Pull that through, making sure don't pull too hard, right? And there we go. Snip the end, and that's one done. Let's pick a more challenging one actually, because there's quite a lot of sort of white coloured. Let's do this one. So there's one yellow in a sea of red and orange and stuff like that, but there is yellow sort of down here. So Oh, I should also say, before you do it, especially with a piece like this, you want to just pull it, make sure that it's taut, because you don't want any looseness. But again, I just literally thread that through the needle, and then I'm looking for some yellows. So I'm going to go, let's see, what do we have? We have this here, which isn't actually a stitch, it's just a sort of float, but I'm going to pick it up anyway. I'm going to go to another yellow there, and then over here, what do we have? We don't have a yellow, but we've got this light green, which is kind of a similar tone, and I'm just going to pull it like that. Oh God, so many ends. And then cut it off. That's basically it. There's not any more to it than that. And then I just do that literally across the board. As I said, this is what it looks like done right, which is a mess. And I think if you've seen my previous video that I did on my anatomy sweater, it looked a lot neater at the back than this. And that's just because, let's remind ourselves of the other side, like the back of this was never going to be neat. You know, the back of this is never going to be neat. It sort of comes with the territory. So if you're doing a complex intarsia but slightly less complex, then it'll probably look a bit neater. But that's basically all we do for that section. So yeah, thanks so much for watching my video today. I hope that it was helpful to you. I always do these little tutorials and I get really good feedback on them, which I'm really pleased with, but I'm also very conscious that like this is like very much my own sort of way of knitting, and it's always a little bit slapdash and it's always a bit messy. So I don't know whether I'm like leading people astray by being like, this is the way to knit, but like it's how I knit and I feel like it's proficient. And so I don't know. Maybe that's kind of how I like to do it. But I hope it was useful. I hope you enjoyed it. I've got a ton more videos on various aspects of intarsia, about how to do it properly according to me, about how to get in the right mindset for complex intarsia, which let me tell you is no joke. Like really, I think if you're struggling with an intarsia project, I would watch that video and just sort of know that you're not alone, and just some ideas to sort of like get into the flow of it. And as I said, I'm going to do a whole separate video on this vest, and I'll touch a little bit about the challenges of complex intarsia there as well. But thanks for watching. Love ya. And see you very soon.